So how are you guys? Our anime today is set for our two leads, Yumi and Mizuto. In middle school, they came closer in the library, became quite fond of each other, and soon became a couple. But then came a time when their relationship broke apart due to a misunderstanding and they broke up with each other in the final days of their middle school. But their luck played a pretty nice game with them as both of their parents also fell in love and decided to marry each other, and now they are step-siblings and now they are under the same roof. A twisted and awkward situation they are in. They both look close in front of their parents, but still they are toe-to-toe with each other. Yumi wanted Mizuto to consider her a big sister since she was born 30 minutes earlier than he was. But in ancient Japanese culture, firstborns were considered younger siblings, so hell no for that. So Yumi offers a deal to him that Mizuto can't refuse. If one might cross their boundaries with the other and do any kind of oppressive thing like an insult or anything else, that one has to call the other one big sis or big bro. So to trap him, Yumi started searching something, and Mizuto's secret magazine was right there, but he couldn't stop her due to their deal, so he suddenly apologized to her for getting into a fight. And looking at him, Yumi remembered his old self, cute and nice, and called him with his family name like she used to do, and that's how Mizuto trapped her in her own game. And she had to swallow her embarrassment to call him Oni-chan. After that, they enrolled in the high school, but the first day of school didn't go as they thought. Two guys approached Mizuto to be friends with him, but he wasn't interested in, and soon their real intention was to get close to Yumi through Mizuto. Which she also noticed, and from another day she started behaving all closely to him because she didn't like it that those two were looking down on Mizuto. Then, at home, when both of them were having dinner, Yumi reminded him of today's incident, which Mizuto had already forgotten, but Yumi reminded her of it. And he didn't even notice that her boobs touched him. She was frustrated that Mizuto didn't even give any thought to her boobs, so she came out of the bath freshly made to seduce him, but her plan backfired on her, and yet Mizuto covered her up. He couldn't take it in anymore and was about to kiss her as both of their deep feelings were blasting in that situation, but sadly, their parents came in a wrong time. So Yumi had to hide inside the couch or else their parents might have seen them. Well, as the story goes on, Mizuto made a new friend in there. His name is Kogure, and he was on bit of the fun side, whereas Yumi also made her first friend and her name was Minami Akatsuki. She first appears to be clumsy, but in physical class she showed an outstanding performance. So Yumi had to try a bit too hard to at least catch up to her, but that wore her out, and Mizuto had already noticed it since she's been poor in physical class. So then Yumi told her straight out that she wanted to top up on her class and everything, but this was her lacking side, but seeing her, she also wanted to catch up to her. And Akatsuki was so into her cute side that she was too happy that she opened up about her weakness, which made her feel closer to her as a friend. But after that, Yumi got sick, and while he was resting it out, Akatsuki got there to check up on her since her condition was pretty bad. She helped Mizuto cook in the kitchen, and then she even fed Yumi like a real bestie before she left. And that fever was like making her open up about her feelings as she requested Mizuto to hold her hand as she fell asleep, just like when they were a couple, and when she felt sick. Mizuto was on her side holding her hand, just like this. But soon after that, she started bossing Mizuto around just because she was sick, but he noticed that Yumi had already recovered and was just using her sickness as an excuse to laze around. She is kind of cute, but then she somehow got her hands on Mizuto's underwear without even knowing it is now forbidden. So she waited for a whole night just so she could sneak in his room to put it back, but the situation was the same for Mizuto as well. But he made an excuse that in the bathroom while he was putting her bra back in the washing machine, Dad came and he had to hide that, so Yumi also made the same excuse. So both of them knew it wouldn't get anywhere, so they decided on a punishment that both would get one order for each other that they couldn't refuse. It's going to come in handy though. And soon after that accident, Yumi saw Mizuto with a girl in a cafe, and then she inquired about her but got nothing, so when she returned home, she saw the girl's shoe. Which means that Mizuto brought that girl home. Out of jealousy, she called Mizuto and told him to bring some groceries from the store just to get him out of the house to meet that girl. As she heard the voice at the door, she came out and saw that the one who left was that girl, not Mizuto. And he was being clever that he doesn't know anything about bringing a girl, but when he saw that chair at the dining table, something clicked in his mind and he screen shifted to the past. The blue-eyed girl that Yum saw with Mizuto was Minami in a Get Up. She wanted to get closer to Yum so much that she started following Mizuto and even sneaked into the house. It was getting out of hand because Minami was too obsessed with Yum, so he rolled his call to Kogure, thinking he might give him a solution. So he first told him about Minami's past, that in middle school she had a boyfriend, and she was too much on the loyal side and also on the submissive side. She would do anything that her boyfriend asked her to do. But her obsession became so overbearing that the guy got mentally sick. And Mizuto had to avoid the tragedy because Minami was targeting him to get closer to Yumi. So he asked Yumi out on a date as per the deal of one order, and then on that date, Yumi saw a completely different side of Mizuto, one that was of her ideal type of boy. They decided to spend their date in an aquarium where couples and families often visit just to show Minami that both of them are close to each other, so don't be a third wheel between them. But it was like it was harder to show affection after so long, but strangely, his compliment to Yum made her embarrassed and happy at the same time, not what he had anticipated. But when they got a bit pushed around and got closer, they both got flustered and ran for the washroom for Mizuto. He hit it off, but Yumi lost her way, and since she is bad with maps, she had no other choice but to wait for Mizuto. She thought that he would act like a total Sakism guy, but he didn't. Just like old times when they were in the festival and Yum got lost, instead of looking down on her and making fun of her, Mizuto was actually kind of nice to her. As their date was over, Yum left to go home alone, and Minami came into the scene to apologize that she had snuck into their home, but even after all this effort, she was still in high spirits, as she was still planning to marry Mizuto just to get closer to Yum. Well, anyway, as Mizuto returned home, Yum used her order to make Mizuto into a model to satisfy her weird complex. Then as the story goes on, Mother's Day was near, and Yum wanted Mizuto to buy their mother a present by splitting the money to show that they are getting along just fine. Since as they did, her heart melted away in an instant as she cried seeing the gift they bought for her. But regarding this day, Mizuto also missed his birth mother who passed away while he was too young. But that's in the past. The present was their current situation. Mizuto wanted to give some personal time to their newlywed parents, but after they got married they didn't have time to spend with each other as they were busy looking out for both of them. But for that, they had to send them away on a trip, but it was out of budget, so their second option was to stay at a friend's home, which was convenient and safe. And it just so happened that Minami and Kogure's house were also nearby, and by nearby, they were neighbors. So Kogure started teasing both of them for the moments they got in mentioning Yumi boobs, and the walls were so thin that they could hear his nonsense. He was just joking, so Mizuto also made fun of him as he tied him up, found his diary, and read out loud that he wanted to be all lovey-dovey with Minami. They had their fair share of trouble and decided to hit the restaurant, and then as soon as they got back, both Mizuto and Yum started studying for their entrance exam to hit the top score. It was already clear that Yum wanted to be the top student in the class, and the only one who could rival her was Mizuto, so in the test, Mizuto finished his paper 10 minutes earlier than her. But when she checked his paper, she found out that Mizuto missed his last section on purpose so that she could get a higher score on purpose. She didn't want sympathy but wanted to prove herself, but she could be aggressive. So in response to her aggressive behavior, Mizuto didn't hold back and came out on top in the entire exam. Yum wanted to be on top so others could notice her, but even after coming in second, honest people like them still came forward for her. And that's what Mizuto wanted her to understand. As she noticed his intention, she wanted to meet with him, but she saw that he was already with another girl. Her name is Higurashi. They met in the library and share the same interest in reading books, so they just hit it off, but they are not a couple at all. But Yumi thought they might be, but seeing how open she is with Mizuto and that she speaks openly about her period in front of Mizuto, there were doubts that they were just friends. But it became clear that she is just Mizuto's friend after that. But still, with the level of closeness they have, anyone could mistake them for being a couple. So what will happen next? Find out in the upcoming video.